Do you ever dream of starting something game-changing? Then Visa can help make it happen. Maybe it's creating and selling your own customized kicks for cats, or transforming your dorm into a plushy pop-up shop, or finally going mainstream with your streaming side hustle. The NFL is full of game changers. Just think about watching Patrick Mahomes during his MVP season and knowing as you watched every single game that the league was never going to be the same. Whatever you're bold enough to try, Visa has the power to help bring your game-changing ideas to life. Visa. Anyone can change the game. Did you know the best day of the week is actually Monday, and Thursday, and Sunday? Because it's NFL season, our favorite time of the year. And whether you're into fantasy leagues, betting on your team, or just talking highlights around the water cooler at work, the NFL season just got a lot better thanks to the Elias Game Plan app, the ultimate sports betting and fantasy companion for the NFL, NBA, and MLB. Elias Game Plan is the only sports app from the most trusted name in sports stats, the Elias Sports Bureau, official statisticians of U.S. pro sports leagues. Elias Game Plan is full of information and insights provided by their renowned research team, which means they constantly give you information that's up to date and that you can trust. This app gives you everything you need this season to get a competitive edge. League-validated team and player news and stats, head-to-head comparisons ahead of their matchups, along with Elias key insights from the Elias statisticians, including injury impact analysis, and expert game analysis, which can give you the advantage in betting, picking your fantasy lineups, or showing off your sports knowledge. And Elias Game Plan is releasing new features all the time, like their chat function, which allows you to talk directly with their researchers. Elevate your NFL season today and download the Elias Game Plan app. And right now, I have a special offer when you subscribe. Get 15% off your annual subscription, but only if you use promo code MAYS. Find Elias Game Plan Sports Betting in the App Store or Play Store today and use our promo code MAYS. This episode of the Athletic Football Show is brought to you by Kentucky Fried Chicken. That's finger licking good. Make everyone in the family happy with a 12-piece meal from KFC. Get all your favorites, like 12 pieces of their freshly prepared world-famous chicken, 3 drums, 3 thighs, 3 breasts, 3 wings, 3 large sides of your choice, and 6 biscuits. Order now on the KFC app or at kfc.com.
This is the Athletic Football Show.
Welcome to the Athletic Football Show. I'm Robert Mays. Joining me tonight is my good friend Nate Tice. Nate, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. We might have to switch the order of those ads because it always ends with the KFC one. And I'm always just like, God, that sounds good. That does sound finger looking good. But no, week 3 almost in the books. We still have only one Monday night game tomorrow, but so far it's been quite the day. And like good, and I always say the word schlock, but like literally we had a couple plays today that were like historical, like a butt punt. Dan Orvalowski's big day, his grand day out. So this was a very eventful day for a lot of different reasons.
It really was. We are not going to talk about that miserable, ugly Sunday night game. That's something we're going to save for the Monday hangover that I'm going to do with Deontay tomorrow. This is the reason the Monday hangover exists. It's to talk about games like this that we really don't want to or can get to, which is a tough thing to throw on Deontay's plate. But we're going to talk about Niners Broncos tomorrow.
Here's this garbage.
Just shovel you this shit. So we're going to talk about that game tomorrow. We're going to talk about Saints Panthers tomorrow. Saints were definitely a candidate for I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed losing that game when the Panthers couldn't move the ball on offense. But a lot of stuff that we want to chew on this show today, so we're not going to get to that. Where we do want to start, though, is with the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins, as you alluded to. This game had everything. It was like Stefan. It was the hottest club is Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. It had everything. It had a butt punt. It had so many different things. There's a ton to dig into here. Your biggest takeaway from a wild game between the Dolphins and the Bills today?
First one is it stinks to play in hot weather because, oh my God, both teams looked gassed at the end of the game. The ref looked gassed at spotting the ball. I know McKenzie should have gone out of bounds, but the ref looked delirious. He was like, he messed up the hashes because they still have the college hashes from the University of Miami game from yesterday against Middle Tennessee State. Oh, Tyler Van Dyke. That's gonna be another story. But oh my God, he messed up. He looked at the wrong hash. He was like, oh, it's actually this one, guys. Sorry. But but this game was Josh Allen and is something else, man. His usage rate he has Russell Westbrook level usage rate, but as an NFL quarterback, He had 71 dropbacks today, which is, I went through 2012 on True Media, and it's the most ever. That's the most ever dropbacks by a quarterback on record, as we can go. There's only been 3 games of 70 or more dropbacks by one quarterback. One was Jared Goff, of all people, and the other was Lamar against the Titans in the playoffs a couple of years back. So, the Josh Allen offense couldn't do enough. But, quite the game there in Miami.
We could start with that if you want to. It was the Josh Allen offense today because I come away from this game a little bit concerned about the Bills simply because this is the first game where we really saw what the holes on the offensive line can mean for this team.
Yep.
Exacerbated by the fact that Spencer Brown goes out with heat illness at some point. David Quisenberry has to come in for him. They're already on center number 2. Greg Mance is playing at some point in this game. The right guard goes out. They have to replace him. So they're playing with a ton of new pieces along the offensive line. But even when Brown was in the game, I thought Miami's front was better than the Bills' offensive line today. And you saw Allen consistently in trouble and really having to pull something out of his ass. He had a lot of magic on third down today, just small scrambles, making things happen when it wasn't there. That completion up the sideline to Singletary that he placed in his hands at one point. There were so many, all right, Josh, you go do something, plays in this game. And for the first time, that as the baseline of the Bills offense left me a little bit concerned. The Dolphins deserve some credit in making it hard on them, but I still feel like this is the first time where we've seen some of the cracks in the Bills personnel on that side of the ball.
And when they weren't winning, just rushing forward, the Dolphins, they would bring in pressures and getting free runners time after time after time after time. And it was crazy how many times Josh Allen was making a guy miss and then making a play. I mean,
that's exactly what I'm thinking about.
At least a half dozen. He made a guy miss or freeze, and he created either a first down or explosive play, which is so you're turning a negative into a big positive for your offense. But
I'm thinking about that Ingram play where he leaps at the pump fake. I mean, there were 5 of those in this game.
He's changing his arm angle, but then he's it's stupid what he's doing because he'll hit balls down the field. He's hitting RPOs, and they don't have to worry about the offensive lineman getting downfield because he'll pump fake and then throw a sidearm, and the ball's coming out so quick that it did you don't even have to worry. That's usually why you can't pump fake on an RPO, Carson Wentz, is because you're worried about getting those penalties, and it doesn't matter with him. But it's pretty insane. How much it's just him. And we knew this. We know that's the kind of how the Bills offense is, but right now you really saw it, especially in this game. And I cracked the joke on Twitter that I said, I think the Bills just run the ball just to give Josh Allen a breather. That's what it feels like. It doesn't feel like they're trying to get in the yards. They're just hey, let's give Josh a blow here. And that as opposed to hey, we'll just keep pounding away, do what he does and where he runs around like an ostrich. But yeah, I think you saw the limitations of it all. I wasn't really oh man, that's a terrible scheme by the Bills. It was more just hey, this is all we can do because our offensive line was so patchy and just getting beat up. And also when you do all those 5-man protections like the Bills like to do, hey, if we blitz it, we're going to create a free runner just by the math game. So you could just really see that game kind of squeeze and squeeze and squeeze, especially as Josh Allen got tired.
And again, some credit to the guys up front for Miami. I like Sealer 92. He consistently is doing shit. Wilkins had some moments. Agba had a couple really nice moments as a pass rusher, inside and outside. We're not going to talk about this as part of that final sequence because it's overlooked by a million different things. Ken Dorsey smashing a bunch of machinery being number 1. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
Even in you've seen a tablet go in the.
I've seen tablets. I've seen walls being punched. You see some stuff, and the Bills assistant did his best to try and cover it up before Moore could get on camera there. Usually they try to turn the camera off or they throw a towel on, but when the guys freak out like that, I haven't seen it to that extent where it looked like the panda meme where the panda's just breaking the tablet over the table. That's what it looked like. I haven't seen it to that extreme, but I've seen some walls being punched over the years.
What I was getting to is Quisenberry gets dinged for holding on the play before they run out of time because they were pretty much in field goal range before that hold happens. And that's all Agba. Agba had some really nice rushes from a 3 technique today from the edge. So again, want to give some credit to Miami's defense, but concerned about some aspects of the Bills offense. 9 carries for 13 yards for Devin Singletary today. They cannot run the ball when they need to. And that could absolutely be a concern moving forward. On the other side of the ball, again, some of the personnel concerns, not only were they hurt in the secondary coming into this game, at one point, Christian Benford goes out, and Ingram, who's now their 3rd string corner, is in the game. And there were a couple moments in the second half where Miami was really going after him. There was that one play where Waddle goes vertical and he just has to get tons of depth and he's really concerned about it. But also, again, you want to give Miami some credit because they made plays when there were plays to be made on that side of the ball as well.
Yeah, they had 39 plays today, which is the fewest by any NFL team since 2018, which was also the Dolphins in a Week 3 game, which is kind of funny. But, a credit to them because they made them count, and they really did. The 3rd and 22 play late in the game, I think it was in the end of the third quarter, that was a really great play call. It's cool that the Dolphins and Mike McDaniel, they don't play scared on those 3rd and longs. They really take it to defenses. Hey, you're going to play soft. Because they're playing Tampa 2 there, the Bills were, and it was just a great concept. It was a shot play. Obviously, the completion happened, but it was mirrored corners. I'm going to talk about this play on Wind the Clock, but it was corner routes and what people call a 7-up, not just because it's a fun pun, but 7 as a corner on the route tree and then an up route by Waddle there. And it looks like a high-low concept against cover 2, and you got new DBs back there. So he's like, okay, wide is the widest, deep is the deepest, and they have another route. What was the guy's name? Trent Sherfield to tie down Edmonds over the middle of the field. It was just a nice play design. It was a shot play. It's a safe shot play because it was 7-man protection. If it's not there, check it down. We'll see if we can get half of it. Waddle sells the corner. You could see his speed. And it was a great play call at a great time. So it's one of those, they only ran 39 plays, but they made them count. And also I just want to give a shout out. We talked about the Dolphins defense already, but Javon Holland had a great game today too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, at least 2 or 3 PBUs that were really, really great plays where he saved it, almost made a pick on it, but also was just saving whole shots that would have been 20, 25-yard gains for the Bills. So I want to give a shout out to him as well.
And a sack fumble. I mean, absolutely, he does so much for them. Also, I forgot, it was in my notes, I missed it. The Melvin Ingram sack against Spencer Brown on the inside move that he also had a sack fumble in this game. A lot of defensive players making plays for the Dolphins. On that touchdown, I keep calling it a touchdown, on that huge gain to Waddle, you can also feel what Tyreek Hill is doing to the safety on the other side of the field because he's stretching down the sideline. That guy's being pulled in that direction. There's all that space in the middle of the field. You just feel the speed when you watch this team consistently. So the one little wrinkle design-wise I wanted to talk about, we've talked about this play a lot already this season because everyone is running it. And it's the RPO where you have the guy going in jet motion, running a little rail wheel up the sideline and the post from the inside player. Miami ran like 2 little variations of it today for chunk gains. They had the guy going in motion run to the flat, and that pulled it down, and then Waddle came up the sideline, and then they ran like a little dig with Tyreek Hill off of it, where he comes inside. And it's just like all the same kind of designs and everything looking the same with these tiny little wrinkles off of it. And that's what the Dolphins offense feels like right now. It's that all this stuff is coming at you with such gusto, and then there are like little tiny tweaks on it that makes it really, really hard to defend. You're already terrified playing on your heels, and the fact that these things are switching up at the last minute on you, they're really, really difficult to deal with right now.
And we think of the vertical element with it. Of course, these guys create so much yards after the catch, and this is a way to make the horizontal game dangerous because it's creating space for your run game and then also in the RPO game because one guy hesitates, one guy doesn't pass it off, one guy gets picked. It should be a 5-yard gain, turns into a 15, 18, 20-yard gain. And that's annoying. It's really annoying because you're like, oh, one guy misses a tackle, they heat you up. The other stat I came across today is that only 3 players right now are averaging more than 3 yards per route. Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill are 1 and 2, and number 3 is Rashad Bateman. So of course I'm going to include that stat. So, but that just speaks to what they're doing though. It's a balanced offense in a way as far as like run pass splits. It feels like the RPO kind of juices those numbers a little bit, but it feels balanced where it's not like, oh, they just keep spamming these plays because like you said, they're just doing little design tweaks where it doesn't feel like they're just hitting the same play over and over. Like maybe the Chiefs where you get frustrated with their offense sometimes does.
They ran a counter play with the tight end pulling for a nice chunk gain to Mostert at one point. And then I think it was on the next drive, they ran an action that looked similar with the tight end coming across, and then he reverses course and comes back on the end around. The Niners have done this forever. The Niners have done this so often that I remember the Cardinals stealing it from the Niners at one point.
A week later.
Yes. But again, those plays tie together. You have a similar sort of action, and it's just one thing playing off the other. And when you combine that general ethos with the talent that the Bills have, the talent that the Dolphins have, a receiver, this is the kind of stuff that you see. And the last play I wanted to point out, the touchdown that he threw. I'm never gonna remember the guy's name. What's the guy's name? Craycraft? 85? Craycraft.
Is this for another nickname?
I think that's what it is.
Kraft mac and cheese. Yeah.
So the touchdown of Kraft mac and cheese, that is actually well played by the Bills.
Yes.
They communicated on it.
Yeah.
Because Hill was in the backfield. Mostert was a part of that little bunch on the left side.
Right.
Yep. And they were talking. There was a lot of communication going on with a lot of new pieces on that side. And they actually picked it up really well. And Tua rifled that thing.
Yes.
Like that was a very low margin for error throw. And he makes that throw. So at a certain point, obviously he's being put in good spots. I think that the Dolphins overall have made it easier on their players, but he made some throws when he needed to make some throws today.
He's getting the ball out so quick, and that speaks to him. And sometimes it could be an issue where, like, okay, the first half, the pick against the Ravens last week, where he just launched it because he thought the picture wasn't going to change. But then the benefit is if you're going to run the same coverage against him every time, he's going to know where to go with the ball because he is smart enough to know that. And it speaks to him. That's why he doesn't get hit as much as you would think he would, because the ball comes out every single time.
Milano probably should have had a pick that could have sealed this game, which is
the
worth
pick six on the slant.
But also Holland did. I mean, it wouldn't have been a pick six, but a dropped interception on either side. Tua made throws when he needed to. Big question worth asking: should Tua have been in this game in the second half?
No, and they were trying to say it's like it was weird when they tried to say it was a different injury when he gets up.
It was a back injury. We all saw him get up.
Stumble. You don't stumble like that with a back injury.
He stumbled, and then they had to hold him up when he was coming off the field.
Yeah. And this wasn't the Byron Leftwich at Marshall where guys are carrying him. This was a I stayed out till 2:30 at the bar kind of stumble. So that was I when he got knocked, I was like, oh dang, I kind of want a fair fight. You want both of the quarterbacks in there. Obviously, you don't want anyone to get hurt. And so all of a sudden they said, oh, he's coming back in the second half. It's like, what? Oh, he's got his helmet on. I couldn't believe that he had his helmet on. I was like, oh, they got to take it away from him. We all know this. And he played the whole second half with it, which is bonkers.
Big picture takeaways from this game. What are you going to remember? What are you taking with you to week 4 from what happened today between these two teams?
Oh, my God. I think Josh Allen can't have this much usage. The Bills got to pick up their run game. And also, I think the Dolphins had a complete game. Like, I think this was their best performance, even though they had the other wins this year. I think this was their best team performance as far as defense and offense. And we're not going to talk about the butt punt. So I won't say the 3 phases of special teams because they had that. But I thought this was a very complete game from the Dolphins where I could see their defense winning them games.
So I think that's it for me. It's that this Dolphins team, I think not wildly because they played well for the first 2 weeks. Yeah. But I do think it changes my opinion of them as it relates to the grander hierarchy in the AFC. The fact that they are going to be here pretty much every single week all the way through the end. I don't know how far they go. I don't know what their ceiling is, but they're going to be a pretty damn good team for this entire year. One more note on the butt punt. Morstead totally redeems himself with the safety punt.
Yes.
This is another small part of this game that ends up being huge. He booms that thing because when they got the safety on the butt punt, I'm going to say butt punt as many times as I can while this is still relevant.
It's so fun.
The slow-mo of the impact is so great. Like a butt hitting a football with that sort of velocity, with that sort of proximity.
That had to hurt.
It was a really special moment, and it was one that's going to be replayed for all time. The fact that they won is hugely important in not allowing this to become one of the greatest bloopers in the history of the NFL. So good on you for that. And part of the reason that they won, after they get to safety, I just assume that short kickoff, going to be in field goal range. This game is probably in hand. He booms that thing down inside the 10 and then makes them go the entire length of the field. And they still might have won if not for the holding penalty. But I want to give Thomas Morstead his due because he overcame the butt punt in short order to do his job for the Dolphins.
You see how jacked he was too after it? He was high-fiving.
Oh,
he showed him. Yeah, he was high-fiving everybody.
He was inches away from from going down, from becoming immortal. Just ultimate notoriety for the rest of his life for this butt punt, and then they won the game. So good for Thomas Morstead. All right, second game we wanted to talk about here at the top, kind of the other marquee game of the week that we previewed on our Thursday preview show last week. Bucs and Packers. Packers beat the Buccaneers 14-12 in Tampa. not necessarily digging into the nitty gritty of this game. We can if you want to. I think the most interesting parts of this were the Packers offense struggling against the Bucs defense, because Packers offense is close to full strength at this point. Receivers are dinged up. Sammy Watkins is out, but we still expect them to operate when Sammy Watkins is out. David Bakhtiari is rotating in at left tackle now. They're getting closer and closer, and they really struggle to move the ball, especially down the second half. But my biggest takeaway from this is, do we have a power vacuum in the NFC right now outside of Philadelphia? If you were trying to stack up the best teams in the NFC, who do you feel good about right now after this game and after everything we've seen over the first 3 weeks?
Yeah, even like it's hard to even talk myself into the Rams, because it's not like the Rams they're not like doing anything real sexy outside Skarsgård playing fullback. Like, but no, seriously, like the Rams feel like the 2020 version of the Rams, as opposed to last year's team that was just freaking shredding people. It's more like, oh man, we're 4 to 5 yard chunks at a time on offense, and our defense is, hey, Ramsey played fantastic today, but Ramsey and Aaron Donald go make some plays, and we'll win a lot of ugly games. And they don't feel kind of like that how they did last year, where they're really taking it to teams. But even I agree with you. I guess I keep saying the Bucs when they get healthy, but they have to get healthy. No, I mean, this defense is great, but I mean, you could just see it in this offense. This was the lowest air yards per attempt for Brady since he became a Buc, was this game. And it was Rodgers' 5th lowest of his career. Like this game was a check down fest. Like, it was just underneath
quarters. Rodgers was at 3.07 air yards per attempt through 3 quarters. That one shot he took on the slot fade to Lazard lifts his average by like 3/4 of a yard. Through 3 quarters, 3.07. So that brings me to my question about this Packers team. Are we concerned about this model of offense, not over the long term, but like right now? They're not going to play the Bucs every single week.
Right.
But they had the lowest rushing success rate in the league this week, 20.8%, and 3.07 air yards per attempt through 3 games. Your margin for error is so small when you play small ball like this. I'm worried about it. I know they don't play the Bucs every single week, but if we're talking about ceiling outcomes with this team and where they fit among the best teams in the NFC, among the best teams in the league, there's cause for concern there in my mind.
It feels like a team that has Allen Lazard as their best receiver. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he encapsulates this team. Nice and fine. He's solid. He's efficient. No juice, and it's more just crafty and efficient. Like, that's what the team wants to live by. It's the old guy at the YMCA. Like, but that's it. It feels like an old San Antonio Spurs, Tim Duncan offense at the end of his career, where they weren't shooting threes. It was a super efficient, like, kind of offense, like, but it wasn't very explosive. And that's how the Packers kind of feel. And it seems like I always want to say Dobbs, but Dobbs and Lazard, they're the top 2, it seems like. And he had a nice game.
It's just Dobbs. It's just Dobbs. Yes.
God dang it. I'm never going to get it right, because I tell myself it's not that, and I'm never going to get it right. So don't worry. I'll get it by week 12. One day. But honestly, all the Packers.
You versus names is the greatest rivalry on this show.
I got one later too. I think it's even a guy I like, and I don't think I can even say his name right. But the Packers' best plays are
it's Madubuike.
You knew who I was talking about.
I got you. I'm giving it to you right now, so you can hit it later.
I was with my sister.
I am Mike McDaniel and you're Tua in this situation. I'm putting you in a position to succeed.
Point me in the right direction, and I'll get it out in 2 seconds. Yeah, that's all it takes me to get these names right. But no, the Packers, though, it's their best plays are double moves off of like RPOs. Like, it's fake flat routes and like that's their best play right now. And when that's your best offensive play to get an explosive, that means everything's going to feel really, really tight. And that's how this offense feels for the Packers right now. And their defense is nice. I think they're coming along, but it still has weaknesses against the run. I don't think the Bucs were able to take advantage of it. That's a tough slog game. Like, a lot of slog-filled games are probably going to come if this is the way they're going to attack defenses and how they're going to play defense.
You could still win this way if your defense plays well enough. I don't know if their defense is that good for them to consistently win this way. And it's also just hard to win a lot of games 17-14 or 24-17. That close games lead to more losses. This isn't some radical idea.
I was kidding about this team.
You're not going to win 12 games.
This summer, I was kidding about this team. Like, we did a couple of shows. I'm like, I think they're really trying to win every game 20-17. I was kidding. I didn't actually mean that. Like, that was their actual strategy, but it looks like that's what they're doing. Like, And yeah, it's tough. It's really tough because one bounce goes the wrong way for you, or the other team actually lines up in the right position. And Tom Brady, the Hall of Famer, isn't trying to kill a play with 2 seconds left on the play clock. Like that, those brinks are going to happen to you if you play all these close games.
I do think it's going to look okay against teams that aren't the Buccaneers, because when you watch the first half of that game, this is truly just putting the game in Aaron Rodgers' hands. It's just a lot of RPOs. It's a lot of downfield RPOs, which is really just being like, all right, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, who has more situational awareness than anyone who's ever played this game, arguably. You have to make the right decision every single time we need an explosive play. No one else is going to have a role here except for you and the design of the play. And there's a lot to like about the quarterback and the designs of these plays with who's running the offense, but it's still, you're fitting this through a keyhole, and that becomes really hard over long stretches of time.
It's nice when the play's not perfect, the throw's not perfect, and a guy makes a play for you. We talk about receivers or quarterbacks getting a bucket. Receivers getting a bucket is also really, really nice.
Watch the Eagles game today.
Oh my God. I was going to say, just ask Jalen Hurts how nice it is. Just throw it up in a general area and a guy just reaches over a defender. Like that's what a Devonte Adams in your offense should do, is that they increase that margin from error from 2% to 12% or more if they're really, really like a stud.
You're making a fascinating point, though, because this is the gap between some of these teams now. You have the Packers, who had to trade away their top 5 receiver, one of the best playmakers in the league. And you have these 2 teams in Philly and Miami who went out to get these guys, who made big, monstrous swings for these guys. And look at what it can do for them in some of these moments. You're seeing the 2 styles you can play with based on what your receiving personnel looks like. And I think that those differences are really noticeable right now between those 2 sets of teams.
Yeah. God, how about the Packers though? Rotating left tackles. That was, it was interesting. I haven't seen that during a game. I've seen first half, second half. I haven't seen the split series kind of thing that we were seeing in this game. That was an interesting one.
It would annoy me and concern me if it were pretty much any other team in the league.
Right. It's the Packers mouthwash. Yeah.
It's because he's played so much.
Oh yeah.
It's because the Nyman and Runyon plays left guard for them. Because Nyman and Runyon have played together so often, I'm not concerned about really messing with chemistry because there's a familiarity with all of those pieces. It's not as concerning or not as much of a wrench as it might be for some of these other teams. Maybe I'm rationalizing that, but I think that they can get away with it more than another team would.
They can. Like you said, he's a freaking former All-Pro. So hopefully, and it's the same communications he's had the last couple of years as far as verbiage. So I think it's okay, but it's unique. It was a unique situation today.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to get to You Have My Attention.
Now, our next partner is a pretty cool product. Let's talk about Athletic Greens. If you're looking to get better gut health, more energy, or a stronger immune system in a really easy, natural way, you've got to check out Athletic Greens. I'm sure you'll all agree that most of us aren't huge fans of having to take a bunch of pills or vitamins in the morning. But with Athletic Greens, you can get rid of all those extra vitamin bottles and finally make some room in your cabinet. Athletic Greens is an all-in-one solution that actually tastes good, so you'll really enjoy getting your daily vitamins. I love the taste. It's nice and sweet and tropical. I make it in the morning while I'm brewing coffee. 1 scoop, cup of water, mix it up. An easy, simple way to add more nutrition to your day. So what is this stuff? With 1 delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help start your day right. The special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition, especially heading into the flu and cold season. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/maze. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/MAYS to take ownership over your health and pick up your daily nutritional insurance. Sunday Night Football is back on Peacock and NBC. Experience live games, full replays, exclusive post-game breakdowns, and so much more. Watch the biggest and brightest stars like Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes conquer the gridiron and fuel your fandom with commentary from the hottest talent in the booth and the studio. Hear Mike Tirico with the play-by-play, commentary from Chris Collinsworth, Melissa Stark on the sideline, and Maria Taylor with pregame coverage. When you stream Sunday Night Football on Peacock, you'll get access to tons of live sports, hit shows, new movies, and more, like the NBC Sports virtual channel. It's your always-on destination for sports talk and news, with great shows like Pro Football Talk, Brother from Another, and Chris Sims Unbuttoned. Join today and stream whenever you want, wherever you want. Because if it's made for Sunday night, it's made for Peacock and NBC.
Gentlemen, you had my curiosity, but now you have my attention.
All right. Every week during an NFL Sunday, there is so much stuff coming at you, so much stimuli over the first two slates of games. Each week, we like to take a step back and talk about who grabbed our attention over the course of the day. I watched games out today for the first time in I don't know how long, because we went to a music festival in San Francisco last night. So I'm here. That's why I'm in a hotel room right now for you guys watching. I brought my lights and stuff. We look nice. We're really committed to this right now. So I watched them out, and I could not pay attention. It took me like 20 minutes to really get locked in. I was fine by the end, but during those two stretches of games, the first group that grabbed my attention, and I think you could probably say the same, the Jacksonville Jaguars. You have my attention. The Jags are just good.
Yeah.
There is no caveat necessary. There's no couching this. There's no the Jags could win the AFC because the Colts are disappointing, or the Jags could do this, but the Jags are just good, and I feel really comfortable saying that.
They were second in DVOA going into this week. Trevor Lawrence is sixth in EPA per dropback right now. It's he's only been hit. I know we're going to talk about the whole team. Trevor Lawrence has only been hit, not sacked, hit 3 times in the past 2 weeks. That's combined. Yeah. And that speaks to a mix of a better O-line, better scheme, and Trevor Lawrence being freaking good in the pocket. They snapped an 18-game road losing streak today. But this was the Jaguars. When we were talking about them against the Colts and even against the Commanders, we're talking about, wow, their defensive front's actually pretty fun. Like Josh Allen stepping up, Trayvon Walker, like all these guys are kind of really pushing the pocket. They're running all these games. And then you saw what that whole picture can look like: a better offense with a quarterback that's taken a huge leap forward this year, and a defense that has true speed and some true dudes. I mean, there's a ton of plays I want to talk about, but it was a really, really cool performance from this whole team that has a lot of confidence right now, it seems like.
Let's start with Trevor Lawrence. We can let you do your victory lap here in a second, because I think you had the most steadfast belief in him in what was a bad statistical rookie year. When you just look at the box score numbers and even advanced numbers, he was not good. It was a rough year, but you had unwavering belief in what he could be. What do you think is the most important proof is in the pudding aspect of his game over the first 3 games? Where like, this is undeniably why he has been so good.
It's the just different type of throws he's hitting. I know that sounds obvious, but not only just the creation throws, like the first touchdown he had today where he's breaking out the pocket in the red zone. There was even a short little pass play, and it's so simple. I really want to say it was on a 3rd and short. It was an RPO, and he throws it with touch. He throws a little flat route with touch, and how quickly he flashes the fake and touches the throw over. You shouldn't be able to do that in an RPO because it's so bang bang usually. The fact that he's operating so quickly that he has confidence in what's being called. He's just doing everything so well. All those 3rd and 4th downs, he has confidence, and you can tell just where the eyes are going. They run a ton of crossing routes, especially on 3rd down. They love mesh. They love drive. Love those concepts. They dress them up so well. Like Doug Peterson, and this is what he did with the Eagles too, doesn't run a ton of plays, but they window dress them so well that you can tell Trevor Lawrence is kind of like, okay, in this version, we're running mesh. Okay, I know I got Evan Ingram coming on the crosser, so I'm going to keep my eyes in the middle. And then I go to Evan Ingram right at the last second. He's holding defenders, and he's not doing it just once or twice a game. It's every play. So it's the fact that he's already showing these steps and how he's moving in the pocket. That 3 hits speaks to his movement in the pocket as well. It's just that he looks great. He looks freaking awesome. Even he's missing accurately. I mean that not that he's missing the throw, but he's throwing low balls, like when the guy's on over to save him a hit. He had one to Kirk, I think today, Christian Kirk, and where he's peppering them but hitting them low. So all of a sudden the safety has to jump over the top, saving them a hit. They had another one. Sorry, last one. They had a screen.
You go nuts, buddy.
I'm going to, because hell yeah, I took enough flack for this. So I'm enjoying it while I can. They ran a screen RPO. I didn't even realize an RPO. It was a 2nd and like 6, and it was a quick out route to Christian Kirk. So I was like, oh, that's a nice little quick out route. I didn't realize it was a package play where they're running a screen on the other side. So basically he had nobody blocking for him. And he has 3 guys running right from by design. I'm not saying it was bad design. They're going to block the screen. They're running a screen to Jamal Agnew to the field. 3 guys are running at him. He just drifts back, hits the out route before Christian Kirk's even breaking. The ball is out. And the Chargers have no chance because the ball is coming out so quickly. And it's really cool to watch a quarterback gain confidence as the game's going along and the season's going along.
There are 2 things I noticed when I was watching the Jaguars today, outside of Trevor Lawrence clearly being a really good quarterback and taking a massive step and being one of the guys potentially now in the group of that is a really good quarterback. That is going to be a really good quarterback for a long time, which is one of the groups you want to be in as an NFL organization.
Yes, you do.
They have a ton of juice, offense and defense. When you are picking as high as they've been picking for a long time, you want this.
You hope so.
You hope you get some of this stuff.
Yes.
So when ETN is in the game, he has a ton of pop. And James Robinson's undrafted. They didn't need any draft picks to have that element to their offense. He's a very good player. But you feel it. Even with Agnew. When Agnew is on some of this stuff, you feel the amount of speed that they have, the amount of explosiveness they have. Kirk gives them that, especially when you contrast it with what the Chargers feel like on offense. You can feel such a difference when you watch these 2 teams play. And then on defense, they're gremlins. Like those guys with Walker and Allen, and even like dropping Arden Key into that situation, and what they have at linebacker now with Oluokun and Lloyd, and
Javon Hamilton is like stepping up like a nose tackle. Like, they have all
so
these
it's these
dudes.
guys, they have pop, but it's not about just that. They are extremely well coached on both sides of the ball. And whether it's coaching or just fundamental play, I can 2 plays really stuck out to me in this game. 1, they ran a draw on 2nd and 5. And it was the same play where Agnew was working on Murray in space. And you've watched Cam Robinson on this play. They run a draw, and he does a great job. I think Rumph was in the game. Bosa got hurt, something to mention. This team is not deep on the edge. Bosa missed any time, they'd be in a really big trouble. But he sells Rumph upfield 2 or 3 yards and still is able to get 5 yards downfield to block Derwin James on this chunk play, draw play that they ran on 2nd and 5. Just a small thing, but such commitment to the details from your left tackle on that. And there was another play. I can't remember exactly when in the game that happened. It was maybe the first drive for the Chargers. It was a 3rd and 1. Trayvon Walker does an incredible job stringing this play out against, I think it was Gerald Everett trying to lock him down on the edge. It goes for no gain. Drive gets stuffed, makes them punt it away. Just a small thing. But your number 1 overall pick, who is one of the best athletes purely in the NFL from the moment he stepped into it, doing everything in his power to keep contained on that play and stopping a drive for the other team. That happened all the time today. Darius Williams had a couple fantastic moments where he's sniffing out a screen, even though they're using a bunch of motion, exactly trying to put him in conflict. Like all the time, this team looks well coached and they have a decent amount of talent. And when you combine those 2 things, you're left with a team that's just good.
Yes. The creativity in the offense is Christian Kirk's touchdown in the 3rd quarter. Empty play. James Robinson goes in orbit motion, so he goes behind the quarterback. 2 defenders of the Chargers run with it. And it's such a quick, but all the motion's going one way. Then Trevor Lawrence sprints out the other way, and they run a little pick, boom, hit the quick out route. And sounds so simple, but watch other offenses. Watch other offense. Watch the Raiders get inside the 10-yard line. And we don't know what to do. We can't get the ball out. The Jaguars are going, hey, we don't run much, but we're just going to window dress the hell out of it. And it looks so good. The 2-point play right after that touchdown I'm just talking about, 2-point play, they went on a quick cadence. So it's just ready to go. So why they did that, they had a stack alignment, and you could see the Chargers players, what's his name, ends up Evan Ingram, and ends up wide open in the flat. You can see them communicating because they're like, oh, it's 2-point play. They're going to go on 1. Okay, so, hey, okay, pass it off, right? Snap of the ball, boom, Evan Ingram's wide open. Details. And everyone plays fast. When they go for it on fourth down, you can see all the guys looking at each other like they know we're going on fourth down.
They look so comfortable. They all look so comfortable all the time.
Everything. They last one is they had, and this is just talking about the game planning that this Jaguars offense does is the Chargers will kick their fronts based on the running back strength. So right at the snap of the ball several times today, they shifted the running back strength side. So he's to Trevor Lawrence's right. Boom, goes to the left, and they snap the ball, and then they hand it off. But you can see the Chargers starting to communicate, going like, oh, back over, back strong. Like they're standing up, and the ball's getting snapped. So they're in a bad position. We all say it's all the 1%, the 1%. People want to make that out like it's the Patriot way or anything like that. This is what they mean by gaining that 1%. You're giving yourself so much more room for error and also putting your guys in better spots because they're not even ready for the snap as you are controlling everything. And it's cool when you have a good scheme, players playing fast, and a freaking quarterback back there that's like looking better and better. He looks so good. He really does. And so it's a really, really fun package to watch.
It's 1% for most teams compared to last year's Jags.
It's
83%, 87%, name your number. It's incredible that a lot of this roster was carried over from last season, and they look like this right now.
Well, just the trust in James Robinson is all you have to speak between. What's the difference between Urban Meyer and Doug Peterson is that he wanted to run James Robinson off the team because he wasn't fast enough. But James Robinson is a legit 3-down running back. This is not to knock Travis Etienne, who had his best pass protection day, was Etienne did today. And that's his big kind of qualm. James Robinson can play all 3 downs, can run every type of run. That's why he's on the field on a 4th and 1. And it's not weird. It's not like, oh, why is this guy in? It's like, no, he could pass protect. He can run a route and he can run every type of run play. They run that long pull guard pull play, which was also, they were in 3 tight ends in the Chargers match with 5 DBs, which was interesting as well. But they run that play, which is the same play Leonard Fournette scored on the Bucs when they won the Super Bowl against the Chiefs a few years ago. But that's what it just speaks to that Urban Meyer had no idea what the hell the NFL was and what the ecosystem of it all was and what is a good player. He just wanted everybody to run a 4-3 because that can work in college. But no, you see this, and Doug Peterson's like, no, we want this guy on the field as much as possible. And then we use ETN and put him in great spots, catching swings, catching screens. Understanding personnel is such a huge thing in the NFL, and this team gets it.
James Robinson's one of the best pure running backs in the NFL.
Yeah.
He's one of the best handful of pure runners in the NFL. You should be getting that guy a lot of work.
3-down running back, and Urban Meyer's like, I don't want him. Just that's the difference right there.
Talked about some of the guys that were carryovers from last year and how different they look. One guy who was not a carryover from last year, Devin Lloyd, looks awesome.
I know.
He looks so good. There was a sequence on a series in the second half. I think they were in man coverage on first down. He runs step for step with Gerald Everett for a PBU about 25 yards down the field.
Which is saying something. That is saying something. Running.
Gerald Everett's a really good athlete. And for him as an off-ball linebacker to do that, and that's a lot of athleticism, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's show some awareness. Third down, he's mugged up near the line of scrimmage. He bails out. He bails out quick enough to get his hips around, to pick up the crosser coming into his eyes from left to right, and then driving on that to make a play short of the sticks on third down to torpedo the drive.
Yep.
He's a first-round pick. A lot of length, big athlete, had some flashes as a pass rusher in college. His awareness in coverage for a guy playing his third game has been kind of remarkable, especially because we have not seen that from guys taken in that range of the draft at that position at all, because a lot of those guys are drafted purely on traits and they struggle to understand the situational and spatial aspects of the position.
Quay Walker with the Packers.
That's okay.
No, Quay Walker's going to be fine. It's just the awareness that you can already see the difference. But no, sorry. Continue.
That happens all the time at that position for first-round picks. Think about how much Jamin Davis has struggled. Think about the Cardinals linebackers and how much they've struggled.
Yes.
So to watch a guy like Lloyd come in and clearly be picking stuff up really fast, I just am super impressed with how the defense looks and how those guys are just all seemingly on the same page. It's remarkable.
They're squeezing so many throws, which is what we compliment the Bills. The Jaguars defense is doing the same thing. They're winning with 4. They're blitz 2 as well, but they're doing all these different looks and then also squeezing, because that means they're understanding what's getting thrown at them. They're well coached. They're a really well coached team. And also, Devin Lloyd is tied for first in the whole NFL for splash plays, which is, PBUs, everything, stops, interceptions, everything. He's tied for first right now, which is remarkable for a rookie linebacker.
I'm very excited to keep watching him.
Yeah.
One more thing I want to talk about with this game. We mentioned a little bit when you and I were chatting earlier today. The fun chasm between what fun chasm sounds really close to some other things. I might have to rethink that term. The gap in fun between watching the Jaguars right now and watching the Chargers. And I know Justin Herbert's hurt and whatever. Mm-hmm. It's huge. Mm-hmm. It should not be that big when you have a quarterback like Justin Herbert. It should not be so much more enjoyable to watch the Jags than it is to watch the Chargers at this stage of things. And it really is. Mm-hmm. I was joking. We have Pythagorean wins in the NFL where it's your point total. We talk about point differential. We should have a fun differential. It should be the your Epicurean wins are how much more fun you are than the teams that you're playing against. And right now, like the Chargers' actual wins might be fine by the end of the year, but I'm concerned about what their Epicurean win total is going to look like if they keep playing like this.
I love it. I was wondering what term you would come up with for that. So that's perfect. Justin Herbert hit one of his amazing 0.001% throws. Insane. And it didn't feel exciting. It felt relief from the Chargers because you could feel that moment. It was like that game was slipping away, but it wasn't like the side one like, oh shit, and everyone. It was more like, okay,
exactly right.
Oh man, we got it first. Okay, thank God. All right, everyone take a sigh of relief here. Okay, thank God. But that's not good. It's week 3. This team is supposed to be one of the elite teams this year. I know they had stuff to figure out, but man, it just didn't feel. They don't feel confident with anything that's happening. They feel just relief when a good play happens, which is scary.
Slater goes out in this game. One more thing to be concerned about. One more injury. Storm Norton being in this game showed up a couple different times. I don't want to belabor this because if Justin Herbert really said, I want to stay in and he was adamant about it, that's fine. He cannot be in there at the end of that game.
No, it's the NFL. You got to understand that. You can't.
It's hard to watch. The first hit he takes today, he's wincing on the ground. They're down 28 points in the fourth quarter. The guy's having to take pain-killing injections before the game, and he's out there playing. At a certain point, I just think you have to be – you're sitting down. This is an 18-game season. We're trying to win Super Bowls here. It's really tough. Watching him in that moment made me hurt. I can't imagine how he was feeling.
Yeah, sometimes as a coach, that's what you have to understand. You protect your players. They're of course they're going to want to play. That they're the most competitive people in the world. This is literally the professionals at it. So, but sometimes you just have to, even if it sucks, even if they're mad at you, you just got to eat it and just go, no, now's not the time. Now's not the time. Even if you want to be out there with your teammates or whatever it is, it's like, now's not the time. Like you said, you have to understand what a long season this is. It's one game. Like, yes, you want to win every game, but sometimes you just lose. It's the NFL. Sometimes it's not your day, but you got to understand that we still have 15 more weeks to go. Yeah. Maybe in plus playoffs. Let's win the war and not just the battle.
Next one here. Devonte Smith, you have my attention. Holy shit.
Slim Reaper.
You look at the box score and you think, all right, I wonder what those plays were. Did he have a couple cheapies? And it wasn't really no cheapie to be had in these. You look at the collection of catches he had. The first one down the right sideline, he's tracking the ball over his shoulder somehow, making a play wall toe tapping in the right side on the right sideline. The one he makes down the field near the end of the half, he goes up over 2 guys to make a play in traffic down the field. And then the touchdown is a ridiculous contested catch in traffic.
All of them. And then he had a crosser. He turns up field and gains that yards there. So it's the Willie Mays catch. The first one was like, I lost my mind because it's just tracking with your helmet on like that is just ridiculous. And wild. Yeah. His body control is exceptional. And his hand-eye coordination.
Body control is a great way to put it because the screen he caught, he caught a tunnel screen at one point. It was a bad throw. Hurts had way too much juice on it, so he had to kind of jump and catch it and still managed to get his hips turned and get upfield so smoothly to get a chunk gain out of it. Yeah. And I'm watching him today, and this is totally on me, and I'm like, oh yeah, this guy had the greatest season in the history of college football as a receiver. He won the Heisman Trophy as a wide receiver in an offensive dominated era of college football when teams are scoring like 40 points a game. This guy is incredible at football. And now you drop him back into an offense that's actually willing to throw the ball around. And he's not going to get fed, I don't know, name a number, 180 targets in a season because A.J. Brown is there. But when he's allowed to showcase who he is, he's a really good football player. And that brings me to a larger point about the Eagles. There's been so much talk about the A.J. Brown deal, what he was in week one, the leap that Jalen Hurts has taken, and the offensive line, right? The offensive line being this incredible group, all justified. We should talk about all of that stuff because it could be season-defining shit as it relates to the Eagles. The secondary players on this team are really good.
Yeah.
They have really good players on this team. Devonte Smith is one of them. But then you look at what the defensive line did today. They tormented Carson Wentz over the course of this game. Like top to bottom, this team is full of dudes.
And then also they got like Dallas Goedert is your number 3 option. Teams would kill for a Dallas Goedert. They're running screens for him, and he's breaking off touchdowns. And I've said this kind of like have been workshopping this thought, but it's like this Eagles offense, because of their complementary pieces, not just the offensive line, but their skill position guys, they're meant to torch 2 high defenses. Like just this offense is, because it's pick your poison.
Why do you say that?
Like I would say, if AJ Brown gets locked down, like, okay, say if we're playing a cloud team, cover 2 team. Okay, we'll pound the rock. We have our awesome offensive line and we have our QB run game. Okay, and we have Dallas Goedert working over the middle. Okay, say you got a man heavy. Say they played the Patriots. I don't even know if they're on their schedule. And
they played the Lions in week 1, and the Lions played a ton of man coverage against them.
So they go, what if they would go 1 double? Or okay, 1 double number 11. They double team. Okay, now Devonte Smith is 1-on-1. There's not a single number 2 corner that can keep up with Devonte Smith. Like he is a very good player. So this team even if the running back run game that actually looked better today, this offense is just meant to shred what defenses want to do to them, which is fun, which is really, really fun. It's up to Jalen Hurts to keep playing as he is. And then the defense, like you said, this defensive line, they had 9 sacks today. The Carson Wentz got sacked 6 times in the first half. The Washington had 5 first downs. Like they were just absolutely dominating. And guys are running the hoop like around them. Like everyone's playing with effort because they could rotate their guys up front.
They could smell it today. You watch them play today. I think it's playing with the lead, which this team is probably going to play with the lead a decent amount this season. Yep. And we've talked about their struggles to defend the run out of certain packages. But if you're up 24-0,
can't do that.
You don't have to worry about it. So you can just line up in your 4-man front with these guys and just get after it. The run, the hoop thing, the bend that they showed multiple times on big plays in this game.
There's different guys.
Sweat's first one. How your body bends that way and the flexibility required to get that sack is insane. And then Reddick's strip sack, he shouldn't even. It's not a bad play by Sam Cosmi. He runs him past. You should not be able to bend your body back in that direction to even get a piece of that ball the way that he did. And then the interior guys, Hargrave had some moments. He absolutely roasted. I think it was Andrew Norwell for a sack in this game. Fletcher Cox walked the left guard back into Wentz for a sack. Hargrave had a pressure that turned into a Brandon Graham sack. Brandon Graham had a moment today. He had a little 2-hand swipe that he finished off. Every single guy chipped in on the Eagles' defensive front today. And they're not the greatest group of players, but they're pretty darn good. And I think, again, today was just a showcase for that second tier of guys on this team and how they're really, really good and probably better than the second tier of guys on virtually every other team in the entire league.
What we've talked about with the Bills and like the Dolphins, and it's always, okay, offensive line. Like you're always worried about a bad offensive line. That's what the Eagles defense is showing, though, that if you have a bad offensive line, we can take over games. And that is, as any football fan knows, that is the most frustrating thing when your offense can't get even off the ground because your offensive line is just getting their asses kicked play after play. So the fact that the Eagles defense is showing, and we got Slay playing fantastic football right now. It's all these guys. I know we're talking about the other kind of complimentary guys, but it's a tough team to play. Like you have to bring it and play 4 quarters of good football because they're going to jump out to a lead and try to choke you out the rest of the game. And that's what they've done so far this year.
In fact, they were not even focused on the game that Jalen Hurts had, which was another incredible afternoon by him. I mean, where he's already at a point where it's like, okay, I guess Jalen Hurts just plays this way now. Which,
that's what he is.
when you're combined with the amount of talent that this team has, they get really scary in a hurry. Speaking of being really scary, last one here. Lamar Jackson, you have my attention. You wrote about Lamar this week, and So first thing I want let's let you stretch your legs there. You wrote about Lamar this week.
Yeah.
He had another really nice day as a pocket passer, and we'll get into some of the numbers because it's really interesting how different he's playing this year situationally than he did last year. But this is another very good game for Lamar. 4 more touchdowns through the air, another rushing touchdown. Just feels like he was the best player on the field again today. He carries this Ravens offense. What have you seen from Lamar over the first 3 weeks? Just shows his progress overall in pocket process.
And Lamar, and I think he just gets knocked for this because his footwork is so funky that no one's ever. I think that's what, and he also can run, obviously, but his footwork is so funky that everyone, I think, thinks it's like everything's ad-libbed. But I really can see this year is how timely he is playing. The internal clock that he's playing with it's the best of his career. You would hope you get better as you get older, but it's amazing.
But he had a down year last year. There was a dip
Correct.
last year in some of that stuff. So that it's not always linear like that.
No.
I think that's why it's important to point out.
Yeah. And last week was where I could see him really, he was cognizant of attacking from the pocket. And the stats speak to this. This is the most he's ever thrown from the pocket in his career. This is the least he's scrambled, yada, yada, yada. But he's also progressing. It's not guessing that a route's going to come into his like passing lane. Oh, there's the over. Now I'm going to throw it. And I'm going to make up for it with arm strength. You see a lot of young quarterbacks kind of do that, guessing where the route's coming from. But Lamar,
there's a lot of that early in his career.
Yep.
They were hitting a lot of crossing routes, and he had to wait to see it, just throwing the ball out into open space. Because, I mean, that's just how teams were playing against him, and that's the area of the field that they were attacking when he was younger.
Yep. And now, like, especially against the Dolphins, there's 3-4 great clips where they're doing under center, heavy play action, where he turns his back to the defense, and he comes up, and he's truly going 1 to 2 to 3 and throwing the ball or putting a touch on the ball. A lot of Mark Andrews kind of over routes where he puts touch on it, but it's not him guessing or it's not him coming to it late. It's all on timely manner. He's hitting deep digs, like almost like it looks like Stafford, like where he's taking these long, heavy drops, 1 to 2, 3, and just winging it. And he has one top arm talents in the league. It's just
actually
it looks
funny you say that because I kind of think his arm reminds me the most of Matthew Stafford's. Like as a pure thrower, like the arm angle stuff and the way that it explodes out of his hand, like those two are probably the most similar stylistically in terms of how they throw the ball, in my opinion.
Because they change their arm slots so much. He'll throw an over route to Andrews, throw truly like submarine it. Like that's how he puts touch on it. But that's awesome. Like that's what
I've never made that connection before, but I actually think that makes a lot of sense.
Watch how he throws digs. That's where it is. But today it was a reminder. Oh yeah, Lamar the runner is really, 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 really fun.
Yeah.
He had 4 rushes today, over 10 yards. The run game was back to the gun runs where they're reading this stuff. They did the GT counter read, which has been their staple. It's where the guard and tackle pull. And on that play, Lamar, if you have heat come the other way, because that's what they're reading, you put the DN in the bind, he can't make a play, or it's Lamar running behind the guard and tackle pulling. It's awesome. They did the power read, which is just one polar, you don't block the end. And again, you have the jet sweep element of it. It's not jet sweep, it could be a running back sweep. But anyways, you put the DN in the bind. If he makes a mistake, steps the wrong way, Lamar is such a good runner that it's down the field in an instant. And then now you get to see, and this is not speaking just to Lamar, but the Ravens, now they're using Linderbaum as a puller. So now they're doing center tackle counter reads where so they're changing up how they can attack you. So, you want to play an under front or a head up front? Okay, we're going to do this version. Oh, you want to play an over front where you have a 3 technique to that? Okay, we're going to do this version of the run. So they're just, it's incredible. Like, it's like, how do you, like, it's fun how they're meshing it all together. So you have this guy that's throwing like freaking Matthew Stafford from the pocket, and he also can run like Vic, and he can run between the tackles. That's terrifying, and and the stats speak to it, and also how he's just taking over the game, and it's really cool what he's doing. He shredded pressure today. Every time the Patriots heated him up, he shredded it, and
you ready? Because we can
you got that?
If you want to. Yeah.
Let's do it.
So last year we talked about this a ton coming into the season about the issues that the Ravens had on offense last season.
Yep.
Lamar Jackson was 29th among 31 qualified quarterbacks in EPA per dropback against the blitz last season. The Ravens were actively bad when teams blitzed them. So teams this season have blitzed the Ravens at a very high rate.
Yep.
Lamar's been blitzed on about a third of his dropbacks, which is the 3rd highest rate in the NFL. He is number 1 in EPA per dropback against the blitz by so much. It's silly when you look at the numbers. It's like 0.97 EPA per dropback against the blitz. I believe Matthew Stafford led the league last season at like 0.55, 0.56.
Yep.
So just for putting it in context,
him and Mahomes were like in that little,
and that's insane.
Area.
That sort of efficiency is crazy.
Double.
And Lamar's almost doubling it through the first 3 games. All right. Patriots understand what Lamar was last year.
Yep.
I think they're kind of kicking the tires on if this is real over the first 2 games. Blitzed him on 38% of dropbacks today, which was 13 of his dropbacks. On those plays, Lamar Jackson, 11 of 12 for 127 yards and 4 touchdowns.
That's awesome. They just shredded them. That's what it felt like. It was every time I was watching, I was like, "No, there's another pressure. Oh, another big play. Another big play for the Ravens."
And it's not ad lib stuff. The one to Andrews, he's making a play, right? That's just trusting your guy. But he's seeing stuff. He's hitting hots. He's doing a very good job of playing on time, playing on structure, understanding rules. And that's, again, like you mentioned, if he's going to be running like this and playing like this from the pocket, they're still figuring some stuff out. You know, they've got offensive line health concerns. Falalele, I'm going to go back and watch the game, see how he played. I think they sounded pretty excited about the way he played after the game. In fact, they were on left tackle number 3, so worth going back and watching. But they're still figuring some stuff out. But he's playing well enough that I think they can weather the storm just fine for a little while.
Yeah, and I like even how he's reading the game out is the play last week against the Dolphins, which it was kind of funky. The Ravens ran this play, a 3-by-1 formation into the boundary. So all 3 receivers are onto the short side of the field. Rashad Bateman's alone. All this field is to work with. It was 3rd down. And the Dolphins brought the corner blitz. Usually it's from the boundary when you're on a 3-by-1. It's a shorter path. And you can tell the Dolphins corner is like, man, I got to run all this way. It's a blitz here. But on the play, Rashad Bateman and Lamar, they're on the same page. They side adjusted, which is that he changed his route midstream to basically just go into a soft spot. Rashad Bateman was like, okay, I'm just going to sit here. Basically ran a hitch. Lamar caught the snap, saw it right away. I was actually very pleasantly surprised how quickly he got to it, knowing a blitz was coming. So that meant he was keying the safety, I just want to compliment that he's reading the game so incredibly well that he got to a corner blitz, which is usually a quarterback's kind of like voodoo doll because you're not guessing that corner's about to blitz. You're like, okay, that's the last thing I'm worried about. He caught it right away through through a side adjust. Rashad Bateman gets the first down, nice and easy, 3rd and 7. Like, that's incredible that he's getting to that level where he's throwing hots and side adjusts, and they're putting that in their offense on top of all the gun runs and all the other stuff that he can do. So he's playing really special football right now.
One other quarterback note in this game, obviously Mac Jones, not sure what the injury is.
Bummer.
X-rays came back negative, so no broken bones. But if he tore some ligaments in his ankle and there's any sort of damage in that way, there's no way to know until he gets an MRI. So we'll be looking at that news, and we'll be updating that later in the week, recording with Deontay tomorrow afternoon. So if we get any clarity on that between now and then, we'll obviously let you guys know. All right. That's all we got for You Have My Attention. We're going to get to I'm Not Mad, I'm Just Disappointed.
We're still cool, man. We're still cool. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Thought there was a break there. So that's my hesitation. You guys got to give me some grace here with the hosting. All right. We were going to do this about the Chiefs offense, but I think it's just the Chiefs in general losing that game to the Chiefs defense played very well. It's not a performance issue.
With the Chiefs special teams.
Yeah, I'm just the Chiefs in general. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. How you could lose a game to a Colts team that played that way on offense and turn the ball over multiple times. Did we lose Nate? All right. I guess I'll just keep talking. How you could lose a game to a Colts team and a Colts offense that played that way. Let's go over some of the numbers here before. Oh, now Nate's back. Okay. We lost you for a second. Yeah. How you could lose to a team that went 7 of 8 on 3rd and 4th down in this game, that gave up 5 sacks, that had drives. The Chiefs had drives begin on the Indy 35 and the Indy 21 because of a turnover and a turnover on downs. Yep. The Colts averaged 3.8 yards per play in this game. Only Washington was worse.
Really?
So, yes.
Oh
and the Colts won this game.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like, as soon as they got the strip sack on Matt Ryan, I was like, oh, here it comes. Here it comes, the Chiefs flamethrower. They're about to light them up. And then you got Sky Moore, who only returned 1 punt in college, having his issues returning the punts. They had to resort to try to fake field goal to try and get some juice going on this offense. It was a very
4th and 10.
Yeah, very weird performance, especially since Dave Toub is one that, like, if not the best special teams coach in the league, and hasn't been known that for decades. And the fact that they looked like that, I get it, they're on the backup kicker, yada yada yada. But
So
it shouldn't come.
big question.
Yeah,
If Justin Reed kicks in this game, do the Chiefs win?
I think so. He wouldn't miss the extra point. They would miss the field goal. I think so. The field goal was a gimme. It's that. I don't get it, man. I don't get it. Like, this Chiefs team. Like, even when I rewatched it, I was like, okay, Mahomes looks like Mahomes. Like, he had a couple plays where it's like, okay, he almost puts it in harm's way. He has some brilliant throws. That's incredible that he's doing it. But then you look at the stats for the run game. You're like, that's right. The run game can't do anything. The Chiefs running backs, I'm not including the fullback here, just the tailbacks, had 17 combined carries. They got 1 first down. 1 first down.
That's hard to do.
It's incredibly hard to do. And it's not like bad situations. It's, second and mediums and stuff like that, where it's like, okay, get 5 yards. Nope. They don't make anyone miss. So every play is what it's blocked for. There's one play that's gone around on Twitter, and you could see it as CEH. It was an outside zone play. And he's just like running with blinders on. He runs right into his tackle and guard. It's like, just cut up field, dude. Get north. Just get north and get 4 yards. Like, what are you doing? You guys aren't athletic enough. Like, this running back room, it's either McKinnon, who has a lot of juice and no vision. You have CEH, who has no juice and apparently no vision. And then Pacheco, the rookie, probably should get some more run, but he's more of a straight at you kind of guy. So I don't know. It's this team cannot just resort on him being Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce just being gods amongst men. Like, it's a very frustrating. Shout out to Grover Stewart, by the way, for the Colts, who kicked some ass today. He's a damn good nose tackle in this league. But man, it's just this Chiefs offense. Yeah, I say all this, by the way, as Patrick Mahomes is leading the NFL in EPA per dropback. But they should be blowing this team out. How their defense played today, they should be blowing this team out of the water. This should have been a 2-3 score victory for the Chiefs, and they kept them in it the whole game. They just couldn't put them away.
Absolutely. And the offensive line for Kansas City did not play well today. In the run game, they had issues, and the Colts defensive line was actually getting after Mahomes a little bit over the course of this game. They had some nice moments rushing for a couple little games. Buckner had some nice flashes. Ngakoue had an inside spin late in the game that was disgusting. That was a huge play that resulted in a holding penalty that cost the Colts, or cost the Chiefs big time. So, just a rough day, where you win this game, 95 times out of 100 based on the way the Colts played. But just felt like we had to touch on it a little bit, because it's a pretty brutal loss for Kansas City.
It is. It could have been a definitive win, especially it is a tough division, AFC West. Like, don't get me wrong, but just every win in the AFC is huge. And now
is it though?
I know, actually, now that I'm like kind of looking at how these teams are playing. I mean, what was the final score of tonight's game? 11-10. But that's kind of how it feels. Is like, this one was just one that got away, and usually Chiefs are on the other side of this. That's the thing. Under Andy Reid, they always seem, even when they were under Alex Smith, they would kind of pull these games out of their ass. And it just felt weird to see the Chiefs going like, oh, we can't do anything about this. All these great opportunities that we're getting. So a very uncharacteristic performance from them.
We've been shitting on them. I want to point out, if this had gone a different way, I would have wanted to talk about the Chiefs defense. The Chiefs defense, especially on the back end, feels extremely well coached to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
they're smart.
I'm going to forget his name again. Who's third? Jalen Watson, 35.
Yes, the rookie corner. Yeah,
his awareness situationally in some of these moments where he's picking up on a screen, he's just understanding exactly where he's supposed to be all the time. There's a lot of that. Reed plays really smart. When you're consistently getting the most out of a position group where a team has not spent a ton of resources, and corner for the Chiefs has been that. I know they drafted McDuffie, but McDuffie hasn't been playing. So and before this year, think about what they were doing at corner. It was all undrafted free agents and reclamation projects, and they were ultimately fine on defense. And you watch Watson play, and you watch the awareness that Snead plays with, who's a 4th-round pick. They consistently get a lot out of that room, and it's really impressive. And then you combine that with some of the pressure shit they were doing today. They had Reed walk down into the A-gap. He was a free rusher. The Colts couldn't pick up anything.
This was a Spag special today. He was on one today.
I was ready to talk about it. I was ready to be like,
I know.
man, look at the Chiefs defense. Look at all the stuff that they're doing. They're extremely well coached on the back end, getting the most out of these guys. And then they go and do what they did at the end of that game. So this is on you. This is on, if Chiefs fans, if you're upset, we're not talking more about the defense. You go have a conversation with the special teams operation and how that went today.
L'Jarius Sneed, though, is legit one of the most fun guys to watch in the league because just
Absolutely.
how they blitz him like a banshee, so it's fun. Like, and he's just a smart player. That's how it kind of encapsulates all of them. But that was a very disappointing performance by that offense because I also was getting ready to chomp into the Colts offensive line protection plan that has now been an issue 3 weeks in a row. And I was ready. I had examples and everything, but now it's like, oh yeah, sorry, Chiefs offense. I have to rag on you a little bit in special teams.
Probably worth mentioning, if Chris Jones doesn't get that unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, the Chiefs probably still win this game. And just one of those days. One of those days where
NFL
botching fake field goals and missing short ones and getting unsportsmanlike conduct penalties to extend the game. Just a tough day for Kansas City and a pretty big break for the Colts because there's a chance that the Jags would be running away with this division if the Colts didn't win this game today, even at 2-1. All right. One more here. Las Vegas Raiders. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. They lose 24-22 to the Titans. They're now 0-3. Their season is essentially over. What is there to say? When you're 0-3 in the AFC, your season's close to over. There's not a lot of ground that you're making back here. And they are the only winless team left in the league, I believe, right? Or the only team that's lost all 3 games. The Texans haven't won yet, but the Texans tied a game.
Yep.
So I'm pretty sure that's correct.
You're right.
And the games that they have lost, it's not like they've lost to these juggernauts. They lost to a Titans team that was 0-2 coming into this game, lost to the Giants, and then got blown out by the Bills. They lost to the Chargers, which that's a real game, and they lost to a Cardinals team that doesn't look functional against other NFL teams at this point. So it's been a tough 3-week stretch for the Raiders here.
Yeah, and it's such a weird team because they make a move that's more like an all-in move, and they seem like a team that's more like a rebuilding team as far as just who their pieces are. And like Devonte Adams, like I think just their frustration on offense outside going 1 for 12 on third down, 2 for 6 in the red zone, like it's so hard to win that way. Is if you just look at Devonte Adams stats when he was with the Packers the last 3 years, so 2019, 2020, 2021, his targets per game on 3rd and 4th down, he's gotten 5 through 3 games, 5 total through 3 games on 3rd and 4th down this year. He would average 3 of those a game when he was with the Packers the last 3 years. His first downs per route is about 9%, which is league average. He was around 15%, 16% at his time with the Packers, which is much, top 1, top 2, top 3. First down per targets, 15% less. He's like, so yes, he's getting those targets. I think he ended with 10 today, but they're not
5 balls.
They're not in valuable situations. They're more like 6-yard gains on first down, which is fine. Like, that's an efficient gain, but it's not these first down game-changing type plays. His yards per route is half of what it was with the Packers last year. Half. So it's just like, if you're trading, this guy should be just, I know Darren Waller's is a nice player, Hunter Renfrow is a nice player, but he should be eating a lot of these like big time moment targets. And it just kind of speaks to this weird team that they have. Like their offensive line's in flux. They just find out kind of stagnant as far as an offense. They're in the Chargers, kind of like a lot of the same feelings when I watch these offenses. Like they just feel very staticky and very just not a lot of moving parts as far as like guys on the move. So it's kind of a weird disconnect from what I pictured this team to look like.
We talked about this team coming into the season, and we said that they felt incomplete. That's what they felt like outside of the big moves that they made. And the Adams move is a big move. The Chandler Jones move is a big move. They did some stuff that felt like finishing moves for a team that had so many areas of its roster that were still in flux. The offensive line, Carl only got sacked once today, but Titans did not blitz, and they still got a reasonable amount of pressure. Weaver roasts the right tackle, who is a rookie whose name Thayer Munford started at right tackle today. They bumped Jermaine Illuminor inside. Parham was playing center. They've done so much moving around of pieces on the interior of their offensive line and on the right side already this year. The right side had a couple moments that were rough. Illuminor got a big holding penalty in this game. There was a pressure on a 3rd and 9 that in the second half of the game that Carr had to dirt it. So even if the sack numbers weren't bad, the offensive line still didn't have a great day. And you're doing this against a Titans team that has been terrible over the first couple weeks of the season. So you have the offensive line questions, and then you go to the defensive side of the ball. The Raiders defense has been just downright bad this year.
Yeah.
They were 28th in EPA per play on defense over the course of this season. The Titans team, a Titans team that came in 31st in rushing success, was able to move the ball on this team today. And I guess this shouldn't be a surprise. Like, they had so many questions outside of the big name players that they have on defense. So it always felt like any sort of short-term expectations for this team that were driven forward by the Devonte Adams trade and the Chandler Jones signing were probably a little bit misleading compared to where they actually were. So maybe next year, when they have some cap space next year, you go and you try to rebuild your defense with a couple moves, see what you can do along the offensive line, you get your draft picks back. But this season, as far as them being a contender or a relevant team in the AFC, is probably out the window already.
It's funny how your gut instinct is kind of like, oh, that felt like, I can't believe we answered that one correctly, because that's how it felt when we broke down the roster in that AFC West preview. I'm like really looking at it, I'm like, who are the other pieces here? Who are, like, what are they relying on, especially on that defense? Like, Max Crosby's playing well. Like, even if the stats, I mean, he's in the run games, man, he looks so good. But then
he's playing very well. But then you're not getting pressure from anywhere else. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, where's that juice coming from? I know Chandler Jones is kind of sometimes will go stagnant, like where you don't even hear from him at all. It's a very, very strange team. Incomplete is the only way I can kind of sum it up for them, because it's not a team. I thought maybe they'd be frisky, a little bit friskier, but I just don't. They're not making plays. Like, it feels like a team that no one steps up and makes a play. Like, even today, the Titans hit like 3-4 screens on them, and it's like, somebody tackle. And I know Derrick Henry is a runaway train, but somebody tackle. Like, it's just, there's nobody even near him to catch his screen. There's one where it was the first screen of the game. I think it was first drive for the Titans, where Derrick Henry was able to like polish the ball off and wipe the dust on it before he, like, because he was like trying to catch it like a beach ball. And he's like, oh, okay, I got it. And there's no one on the screen still, like, no pun intended. There's no one on the TV screen. And it's like, oh my God, somebody get near this guy. So it's just a weird team where it just they don't have those dudes to make plays. And you can see they're just trying to find their identities, I think, on offense and defense.
All right. That's all we got. We got one more break before we wrap things up today.
Style isn't like math. There isn't one correct answer for everyone. It's all about finding what's right for you. Finding the perfect suit is impossible, but finding a suit that's perfect for you is simple thanks to Indochino. Choose your favorite fabric and customize every detail to find the look that's perfect for you. Submit your measurements online or get measured in-store for a custom, made-for-you fit at an incredible price. And with their fall collection featuring new colors and premium fabrics, you'll be in style all season long. I have multiple Indochino suits that I've worn over the years to every event you can imagine. Weddings, parties. I love how fit it is to me, and I don't have to worry about getting it altered or changed. I bought a suit off the rack recently, and getting it altered cost a couple $100. It was such an ordeal. With Indochino, you never have to worry about it. Everything fits perfectly and is made to your exact specifications. You can get a premium personalized wardrobe without spending a fortune. Shop custom-fitted shirts, casual wear, outerwear, and more. They're always adding new designs and fabric options, like their latest fall collection. Design your perfect suit with Indochino. To get $50 off any purchase of $3.99 or more, use promo code MAYS at Indochino.com. That's INDOCHINO.com, promo code MAYS.
All right. Each week we like to point out a couple overlooked performances, put a spotlight on a couple guys. It could be a coach, it can be a player, it can be whoever the hell we want, because this is our show. So who is your guy for week 3?
Justin Madubuike. Yeah?
I'm so proud of you. You did so good.
I practiced. I almost sent it to the chat to practice it. But yes, and this is a guy I hyped up as a breakout candidate last year, and he was fine. But then this year, he's really, through 3 games, has really been playing very well for the Ravens. Not just a disruptive tackle that doesn't show up in the box score. Now he is showing up in the box score, getting some TFLs today and a sack. I mean, against the Jets, he took over the game against Laker Tomlinson, who's a fine left guard, and really, really blasted him out of the water in week 1. And then last week, Dolphins had a great game plan where they're getting rid of the ball so quickly, and Tua was too. So he kind of, him and the rest of the defensive front and the defense kind of got taken out of it. But today, really stepping up, had some big time moments on passing downs which I wanted to see. So take a bow. I just want to shine more of a light on him as I say his name right for the first time in my life.
I'm really proud of you, buddy.
Thank you.
Watching you grow has been so rewarding to me
Thank
over
you.
the course of doing the show with you. Mine is Jalen Petrie. We are not going to talk about the Texans-Bears game in any sort of considered way. I was thinking about maybe doing it for the Monday hangover tomorrow, and I was like, I'm not doing that to myself or to Deontay. I want to preserve the relationship I have with Deontay, so I'm not going to make him watch that, but I am going to make him watch Panthers Saints. So it's not all good for him.
Okay.
Petrie today, monster day. 2 interceptions, 2 TFLs, a sack, a fumble recovery. He was all over the place. I feel like every single time I looked up at that game, he was doing something. And the Texans found a way to lose that game because they couldn't stop the run for most of it. And then Jalen Mills threw a horrifying interception in the fourth quarter. But Petrie looks like a real dude. And for a Texans team at this stage of things, all that matters is stacking up real dudes. That's it. And this is really the first draft that this regime has had with their full arsenal of picks. And to potentially hit on a guy like that in the second half who can be a do-it-all, wreck shit sort of safety in a bunch of different ways, that's huge. So he had a really nice day, and he definitely put me on notice for sure.
Dirk Stingley gets most of the headlines because he looks the part as a top 5 pick and a corner, and him to battle with Sutton last week was a lot of fun. But Petrie was kind of one of those guys where it was a lot of Draft Nick's favorite, where it was like, this guy's a lot of fun. Like, he's just a fun ball player at Baylor. And now just seeing him translate, instantly translate. I was a little worried. I was like, how's Lovey going to use him? Like, because, all right, is he going to, like, they already had a nickel they kind of liked. All right, are they going to blitz him a bunch? They're using him very well. So it's kind of cool to see him right away do what he was doing in college, where he just makes plays. He's just a football player. And so that nailing on a couple picks, especially at DB, that's a lot of fun. Like you said, Texans need players that aren't 76 to 80 in Madden. They actually need some. They actually need some decent players, and these are 2 dynamic players they got as rookies.
All right, last thing here. We're gonna get to any last words. Little final thought to put a period on the end of the sentence for each week that we do this show. I'm gonna sit back and criticize my own way of doing this and how knee-jerk we can be in this business every so often, and how we want things right away. Because coming into this season, I had real doubts about what the ceiling could look like for the Eagles and the Dolphins with Tua and Jalen Hurts. And I still think there are questions. It's very early. We're 3 weeks into the season. I don't think anyone should be taking victory laps. But we were spoiled a little bit, I think, with some of the quarterbacks who came into the league over the last 5 years.
Yes.
Mahomes comes in his second season and lights the league on fire immediately. Lamar in his first full season as a starter lights the league on fire immediately in a very unique way. He's such a supernova of talent. Justin Herbert comes in, and it didn't matter what was happening around him. You watch that guy, and you're like, that is undeniable. It's not typically how quarterback development works.
Nope, it's not.
We have so many examples over time where it's been slower than that. And I think I'm guilty of this. Some of the guys that we watched over the last 3, 4, 5 years made me speed up my expectations for some of these people. And Josh Allen is an outlier in a lot of different ways. I don't think there are going to be many more Josh Allens for the rest of football history. For as long as we do this, a development plan that looks like Josh Allen's probably isn't going to exist. But one that looks like Jalen Hurts's, or one that looks like what the path that Tua seems to be on, those can exist, where you make incremental gains each season, where you take steps forward that are appreciable, but you still have a little ways to go, and your team consistently does the right things to bring you to that next stage. And I think that the Eagles have done such a considered job in the way that they've built this team around Jalen Hurts, and the Dolphins have done the same. When you look at what the Dolphins offense looks like and how it's structured, and the tangible impact that speed has on the way teams have to play against them and what that does for Tua, that's real. Yeah. We just talked about the Eagles offense, how it's structured, how they're really built to beat up the way that defenses want to play right now. That makes the game easier on your quarterback. It's easier for your quarterback to trust the way that he can progress between his options in a concept when he knows he has a ton of time to do it. It's easy for him to let some throws rip down the field into some tight windows when he trusts his guys to go get it. And maybe I'm just telling myself a story right now about Justin Fields and how it's not necessary. to come to any sort of finality 15 games into a guy's career. But I do think that what has happened with some of these guys early in the season, even Trevor Lawrence, after what he looked like his rookie year, I think it's important in a world and in a sports media world and environment where we can just want to put our foot on the gas all of the time, that it's important every once in a while to tap on the brake a little bit, take a step back, understand that this isn't linear and it's not immediate. And we should all have a little bit of patience in how we think about quarterbacks and the expectations we have for quarterbacks and the timeline we create for quarterbacks.
Absolutely. And especially in a time when it's never harder to play quarterback. It's like statistically it might look easier, but it's never been harder as far as pressures, as far as how defenses are playing. And not only just quarterbacks, and I want to kind of knock myself here, is Jeff Okudah for the Lions. I liked him coming out of Ohio State. I did. I was like, oh, this guy's going to step right in. He looked like crap early in his career. And we talk about situation mattering so much. He's battled injuries. He's gone through constant confident ups and downs, confidence and all that. And now he looks like a good player again. And that's just a reminder that these guys are all human. Their situations are so much in flux. There's so much that goes into this that, yes, the best ones, the most elite of the elite kind of are situation proof, but really not. I mean, look at Tom Brady.
How many of those guys are there?
Look at Tom Brady at 45 years old with no receivers right now. Like, you know what I mean? But like everybody's situation matters, but it's cool to see when these young guys that maybe have those, they're gods, they're the best players on the field always. And then they hit a lull and seem kind of come out of the darkness a little bit. And Jeff Okudah is one of them. And these quarterbacks, like you're talking about, it's always just going to go, oh, they're okay. It's like in basketball where you're like, oh, they take the second year leap and then the third year leap. It's like, no, sometimes you go up and then you go down, you flatline, and then all of a sudden you get great situation. You become an all pro. That it's kind of cool to see it happening in this light, as opposed to, like you said, that some guys just come in on supernovas.
You mentioned Jeff Okudah. We're going to talk about the Vikings-Lions game tomorrow on the Monday Hangover with Deontay. So please come back and check that out. It's a game that I definitely want to hit on. We just didn't have any space for it today. Also, we're going to talk about the Panthers-Saints game, which we mentioned a little bit earlier. And I have not decided on what the final two games are. So that's going to be something that happens over the next 20 minutes or so. Yeah, it's going to be fun. So please come back and check that out. 3:30 p.m. Eastern is when I record the Monday Hangover with Deontay on this here YouTube channel. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, we're doing a bunch of stuff. Yeah. We do this show live on YouTube. We do the Monday Hangover live on YouTube. Our Thursday preview show with me, Nate, and Deontay is live on YouTube at 3:30 p.m. So please subscribe to the channel if you have not. Nate's next edition of Wind the Clock, our X's and O's breakdown, the untimed down version, will be on YouTube tomorrow. You're breaking down that big Jalen Waddle play, correct?
Yep. The third 22, little Dolphins play.
So highly encourage you guys to go look at that if you have not. Nate has done a fantastic job with those. Just a heads up, our Thursday and Monday night game recaps from here on out will be only on YouTube. It'll be YouTube exclusive. If you want to listen to those, if you want to watch those, you will have to do it on YouTube. Just a heads up. We will not be recapping the Monday night game tomorrow because it's the Giants against Cooper Rush, but also because I'm going to see the Gaslight Anthem. So those are two of the reasons that we are not recapping that game.
Good reason.
In the meantime, before we get to our show with Deontay, please rate and review the podcast on your podcast platform of choice. Please subscribe to The Athletic, theathletic.com/football show. And please rate and review. I already said rate and review. It's getting late here. That's all we got for tonight. As always, guys, sincerely appreciate you guys sticking with us and having another late night with us. We will be back tomorrow with Deontay. In the meantime, appreciate you guys listening. We'll talk to you soon.